Good morning, Husker fans. Welcome to the very first episode of Coffee with Husker Big Red. Every Saturday, we're going to break down what's been happening in Nebraska athletics. When the season starts, we'll break down the games. Use this as a little tailgating party. So it's been the same show. I know we've had this, but we're going to start calling it Coffee with Husker Big Red. So every single Saturday, get your cup of Joe, hang out with Danny and I, my co-host here, Danny Gillette, and we'll catch up on the Huskers during the season. We'll preview games, and so should be a pretty fun show. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, hop in the chat with us. And Danny, how are you on this fine Saturday morning? Excuse me.
I'm doing well. The season's getting closer, and it's hard to believe we're halfway through July and almost into August already, and media days. So, I mean, it seems like just yesterday, quite literally just yesterday, we were winning the Pinstripe Bowl. I can't believe how quickly time goes.
Yeah, it is crazy how quick the time goes, and we have one of our regulars, James, saying good morning. He's saying he's got his coffee, so
Morning,
I got mine as well. James, good morning. And I thought about coffee or something stronger with Husker Big Red because I'm not sure how people do their tailgating during the regular season, or I guess during the off season. So who knows if you like a little stronger coffee, that's fine too. We don't judge at Husker Big Red. We accept all forms of Nebraska fans.
A vodka with Husker Big Red that doesn't have the same ring to it, but I mean, to each his own. So yeah, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to kind of incorporate this into the season, and I think it's going to be a really good season. I really do. I have high hopes for this year.
Yeah, I definitely have high hopes. I was watching that just for whatever reason that triggered in my mind. JD Pickle had his predictions yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. He's been doing a bunch of like 1 minute predictions. But he predicted, Nebraska to win 9 games, which that's what I ended up at, about 9 games. I think off the top of my head, I think I might have them losing to Penn State and like Michigan and maybe one other game, which I think he had them losing to USC. And I may have actually had, I think thinking back on it now, I could look up my predictions, but I believe I actually had them losing to USC and Penn State, beating Michigan. But I think there's that 2-game stretch of at Maryland, at Minnesota that actually kind of worries me. And I think I had them dropping one of those 2 games. So, I mean, winning back-to-back road games in the Big Ten is tough. And this program hasn't really shown, it can do that. So I think if they can, it will be a huge sign of growth for Dylan and Matt Rhule and everybody, or Matt Rhule, excuse me. Lord, I'm having a tough time this morning.
You need your coffee, right? No, especially with the Minnesota game on a Friday, and the kind of short turnaround. That is going to be a tough stretch because Minnesota is never easy. I mean, they're 6-0 all time in bowl games under PJ Fleck, and Fleck just signed a contract extension earlier this week. So the consistency that the Gophers have had will, probably continue for quite some time.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I missed that about PJ Fleck. So I mean, yeah, he's done a good job there in Minnesota. And it seems like every time, what I find impressive is like every year where it seems like they're having like a down season, they'll start off like really slowly and they always end up, it seems like, getting 6 or 7 or 8 wins. And then I look up and they're playing in a bowl game that's not great, but not bad either. And so it's kind of like every year I'm kind of like, yeah, this is what Minnesota football should be. But right now, I don't want to talk too much about Minnesota. I wanted to get into Cincinnati a little bit. That's one of the topics that we had for today. So the season opener against Cincinnati, which they have now dubbed the Kansas City Classic. They're going to be August 28th, Thursday night at Arrowhead. A Cincinnati team. I know they were 5-7 last year, so they're coming into this thing with a lot of urgency as well. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't Scott Satterfield the head coach? Doesn't he have some relation? Is he the brother of Marcus Satterfield?
I believe the brother. The brother. So yeah.
So that hasn't been talked about very much. But I was just thinking about Cincinnati the other day, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. That may be also kind of interesting because it's like if Marcus wanted to go somewhere else to get a job, I mean, he definitely could have. So I feel like he didn't pull the Garrett McGuire of going back to his family, I guess. So I don't know. There's a lot to like about Marcus Satterfield sticking around, but about the Cincinnati Bearcats team, I know a lot was made of what was said at Big 12 Media Days this week by Scott Frost and all that. But Cincinnati is part of the Big 12 too. And I know that you had some stuff, or at least over at Huskers Wire, you guys had some stuff about what Cincinnati was kind of talking about during their media day. But I know just three players to know off the top of my head, or that you should know about this team. Of course, I'll probably say their names wrong, but Dante, this one, Corleone, the defensive tackle, which, made me think of The Godfather. But yeah, big time defensive tackle. They've got their dual threat quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, who gave me fits on College Football 26 the other night. And also Tony Walker, the running back, a very talented running back. So those are some guys that you need to know about Cincinnati. Again, they're a team. I think Nebraska's like a 6.5 point favorite. But this is a matchup I think a lot of fans can believe Nebraska's just going to go in there and crush Cincinnati. And I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think this is going to be, a bit of a difficult game. The Bearcats have struggled in season openers, so I think Nebraska does have that trend on their side. But on the same token, Nebraska's had, some difficulties in games like this, as we've seen over the years. So what do you think about, this matchup against the Cincinnati Bearcats?
Well, the last time Nebraska played a Thursday night game, they struggled against the Gophers. So they've had their fair share of struggles on Thursday night openers as well. And, Sorsby is really intriguing because he was a former Big Ten quarterback, played for Indiana. He had over 1,000 passing yards at Indiana in 2023, 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And then he transferred to Cincinnati and was able to make a big impact there, despite somewhat of a down season for the Bearcats. He threw for almost 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So he's a very consistent quarterback. And, like you said, I know some fans think that this game might be an easy win for Nebraska, but Cincinnati has some ballers, and it starts at the quarterback position. And, it always seems like we make even below average quarterbacks really good. So I'm hoping that changes under the defensive direction of John Butler.
Yeah, and John Butler is, one of the reasons that I'm really excited about, this defense going into this season. I know fans have, questions about him, and, some have talked about, that season that he had with Penn State. But yeah, I mean, I feel like even though he doesn't have a ton of maybe experience as a defensive coordinator, I mean, he's done a lot in the NFL, and I feel like that a lot of that experience is really going to pay off for him at this level, especially like we talked about on third down. And that's, like when I compare where Nebraska's defense is, I bring up Michigan a few times because they kind of made this transition to more of a pro style defense, the Ravens defense that they're running. But the biggest difference was just on third downs and getting an NFL mind that knows like, hey, it's almost like on offense where you have, your 2-point plays, you have your 3 or 4 2-point plays. On defense, I feel like you need to have like 5 to 10, tricks up your sleeve, plays up your sleeve during the course of the game that can help you get those third down stops, because that's where the game is won, really, in the red zone, getting turnovers and getting off the field on third down. And I feel like, turnovers, we'll see. I mean, I feel like turnovers are a little bit random. Sometimes you could play great defense and not force a lot of turnovers, just how the ball bounces. But third down defense is where I think that this team could really take a step forward.
And it starts with the pass rush, and we saw that a little bit during the Pinstripe Bowl. We've talked about it before. Vincent Shavers and Willis McGahee coming off the edge, and I think creating that pressure on third down is going to be important. And obviously, it starts with the coverage and the secondary, but Nebraska struggled to get pressure at times last season, and I think that's an area where Butler will improve this defense.
And you look at Cincinnati's defense, I mean, they were 62nd last year in points allowed, so I feel like, this is going to be a good opportunity for Dylan Raiola and this offense to kind of get humming early in the season. Let's see what James has to say. The Nebraska fans I talked to here in Kansas City are excited about the Cincinnati game, but not about the start time. And yeah, it's is it 9 o'clock Eastern or 8 o'clock Central Time? Excuse me. I'm going
to look that up right now.
I think it's 7 o'clock, which is Mountain Time, and so that would be 8 Central.
It's 9 Eastern Time on ESPN.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be so 7 o'clock, so 8 o'clock in Nebraska time, which is pretty late on a Thursday night for a game to start. A lot of times you have those games start at like 6:30, 7:30.
Yeah, 9 here in the East is definitely. It's almost like I'm watching Pac-12 after dark. So
yeah, you're gonna have to have your coffee that night
I
or something.
am. Maybe a Red Bull, some coffee, whatever I can.
First game of the season, but man, I can't believe that's not it's not that far away, honestly, which is exciting. So I mean, looking at some of the things in fall camp, I mean, the offensive line improvement, I think the pass rush, is important. I've been, not that I'm trying to, scout too much from the college football video game, but it does, when I play that game, I'm like, man, Nebraska could use some more pass rushers emerging. So Dason McCullough. But one thing I have to say, Vincent Shavers is rated extremely low. He's a 77. He's not even a starter on the game, which is like, he's going to be one of Nebraska's best players. So how do you make an accurate football game and not have Vincent Shavers be like one of Nebraska's best defenders? It's not very cool, EA Sports.
I mean, because they are going off from last year, and I suspect that after week 1 they'll start to change the ratings.
Yeah, it'll be like mid-season. He'll, after he has like 3 or 4 by game 4, I'm betting you that Vincent Shavers already has 50 tackles. Like, he's going to have 100 tackles this season. Like, that's I wouldn't even say that's a bold prediction. Like, that's just going to happen because he's that good of a player. So you're right, but I'm just like, come on, man. 70. Like, I was sitting there playing, I'm like, where's Vincent Shavers? And I go look at the depth chart, and they've got Watson Trent as like an 88. So I was like, sorry, buddy, I can't move you ahead of him, but I really wanted to. But anyway.
No, Watson Trent's a beast, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Watson Trent is definitely going to have a bigger contribution this season than I think people are realizing. He's one of those guys that I don't know how he's ranked like 600th in the transfer rankings, but he had like 3 or 4 seasons in a row with over 100 tackles and the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year. So, I mean, he was a Group of 5 Conference Player of the Year last year, not just an All-Conference player, the All-Conference Player of the Year. So, yeah, I think Nebraska got a steal there.
I think he had at least 10 tackles in the infamous Georgia Southern game of 2022. So, I mean, he's been around a bit, and
we're exercising some demons with him a little bit,
Yeah, and so thanks for Marquise Watson Trent for inadvertently helping the Huskers by helping get Scott Frost fired.
So, all right, before we move on to our next topic, what's your early win prediction, or what's your early score prediction for the Cincinnati game? I'll ask you, Danny, and commenters, you can drop it in the comment section below.
Ooh. Nebraska 28-17.
I'm going to say Nebraska 28-20. So I think we're fairly close on that. I feel like John Butler is going to deliver a couple of red zone stops. I think Cincinnati will move the football a little bit, but the defense will make enough stops to preserve the win, to get the win for Nebraska in that first week. So I think they'll win and cover the spread. We both got them covering the spread. So not a bad start.
I agree, because I think, yes, Dylan Raiola has had experience with Dana Holgorsen, especially in the month of November last season, but this is going to be his first year. First year with this offense. He's still going to be trying to get adjusted come the season opener. I think there will be some mistakes, but I think the defense will save the day.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how the running game works, which I kind of want to transition to our next topic. Let's see. Before we go, James, 27-14 Nebraska. Mitchell, good to see you, buddy. Good morning. Go Big Red. 32-10. Okay, so 32. So Mitchell more confident than we are. But we're not that far off on points. We're all pretty much, James 27, Mitchell 23. You and I both at 28. So we're all feeling about 4 touchdowns or so, 3-4 touchdowns for the Huskers so far. So we got some consensus there at least.
Yeah, not bad. And honestly, I would take any score. A win's a win. I'd take any winning score.
There was a high school football game in Montana last year where a team won 3-2, and I'll take that. The pollsters may not like it, but I'll take it.
3-2. Okay, wow.
Yeah, it was. I'm glad I didn't have to watch the game. I just looked up the box score. But so as we were talking about, running the running game, and a new name that's kind of emerged in the backfield along with Quentin Ives and Mekhi Nelson is Isaiah Mozee. And he did play a little bit of running back in high school. He returned kicks, so he's very comfortable, I would say, with the ball in his hands. There's been more buzz about it. I don't know exactly how it's going to come out, but Sean Callahan did report on it even more on in his on Husker Online on Friday that it's kind of something to watch. So what do you think about Isaiah Mozee as a running back? I mean, are you just excited to kind of have him be a contributor either way?
Yeah, because now is the time, and I've said this before, but in today's era of college football, it's time to get your best players on the field, and I think that Mozee, while a good wide receiver, is also just generally a good athlete. And if he can even add 400 yards to the running back position, that's additional running back depth, which I know we were kind of worried about heading into the season. And I wonder if the coaches saw Mozee as a running back before we did, 3 or 4 months ago. So it makes me wonder if this was part of the reason why they didn't pursue a running back more heavily in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's running back, receiver, kick returner, whatever, I think it's going to be a good thing for Nebraska when Isaiah Mozee has the ball in his hands. He was an All-American as a receiver, and that's where he mostly stood out. But he did carry the ball 78 times for 665 yards and 11 touchdowns as a runner. Yeah. I mean, it could be as a running back or jet sweeps or whatever, but 8.5 yards per carry. I did find some highlights of him as a running back, and he's very effective in that role. He just has great vision, and he's not small. I mean, he's 6'1", 200 pounds. So he's got the size, and that's on his 24/7 sports profile. I'm sure he's bulked up a little bit since coming to Nebraska in the spring, and he looked good in the spring. I mean, he looked good as a wide receiver. So I'm kind of excited to see what they'll do with him. I know they utilized Ja'Cory Barney in some run plays last year and some screens, and they kind of used him as like a gadget type player. So maybe Isaiah Mozee is going to take on that role this season, which I think could be a good thing and allow Ja'Cory Barney just to be more of a wide receiver instead of, kind of trying to make him that gadget type of player, because he does have the speed, but he doesn't have the type of size that Isaiah Mozee has to carry on this workload.
Kind of like a Wan'Dale Robinson type role. Robinson was a bit smaller, but that's what I'm envisioning for Mozee here.
So Mitch says, Mozee makes sense. Everything I've read about him said that the strong part of his game was his run after the catch, not his catching ability. Not that he can't catch well, but he runs better. Now he does his move mean our wide receivers are that damn good and deep, or does it mean that our running back room isn't as good as we want it? So that's a interesting question. I'll pose that to you, Danny. Do you think this is just a sign of the wide receiver room being deep, or a sign of the running back room not being as deep, or just a sign of Isaiah Mozee, just like the coaching staff being like, we just have to find a way to get this guy on the field?
I think it's a sign of the wide receiver room being deep, and also the coaching staff's want to get Isaiah Mozee on the field, because even when you look at the 2026 recruiting class, 2026, you have Larry Miles and you have Nayland Scott, so there's 2 more receivers right there, and I think Miles is Ja'Cory Barney 2.0, and then you have Isaiah Hunter with multiple years of eligibility. You have, obviously Dane Key only have 1 season of eligibility, but you have multiple wide receivers that can, I believe, play in a starting role sooner rather than later. So I think in this case, it's about just getting your best athletes on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sure that you could definitely use, another body in the running back room, but I personally think Emmett Johnson's due for a big season. I do worry about the depth of it. But I like Nelson. I've started to hear a lot of positive buzz about him. It does seem to me like people are not talking about Quentin Ives that much, and I still think he's got a chance to be the running back too this season. And then you throw Mozee in the mix, Jamarian Parker too. I mean, that's another freshman I've been really high on. So I would be shocked if he started coming on at the end of the season, sort of like Emmett Johnson did as a freshman, and he kind of got thrust in during that November stretch and ran the ball pretty well, I thought, a few years ago.
2023?
So, yeah.
I think, yeah, right. Yeah.
I think even 2022, I think he even might have got some run at the end of that season. Maybe I might just be thinking of 2023, but either way, I do think the running back depth isn't as big of an issue as some of us have made it out to be. I mean, it is going to be an issue if Emmett Johnson gets hurt, though, but that's kind of the risk that you have to take. But there are some talented guys behind him, and if there was like an injury to Emmett Johnson, that's another area with Mozee too. You talk about not only his running ability, but his ability to catch. I mean, as a receiver out of the backfield, he could be a threat there as well.
Yeah, I don't really see him as a between the tackles running back. I see him more as a, receiving back and a guy that, you just want to get out in open space. You're not necessarily going to shove him, between the tackles and hope he gets physical and, plows his way for yards. I do think he can do that occasionally, but I think you have to utilize his speed and, getting those receiving yards and plays in the open field as a receiving type back, I think is going to be where he butters his bread.
Yeah, and it's going to be, I think, either way, I think his impact is going to be interesting to see. And man, I'm thinking about him too as a return guy. I know Andrew Marshall's going to be in the mix, but when you have him and you have Mozee and some of these other guys, I think our return game with Mike Eckler is going to be much better than it was over the previous few seasons. There's no Husker I hope does well this year more than Ives. There isn't a Husker that gets more disrespect than him. Yeah, I mean, I think I could agree with that. He did when he had the touchdown again. I wish he would have gotten more time in the Pinstripe Bowl. I think they meant to give him more time. It just didn't necessarily work out that way.
Well, I think they wanted to give Ramir the spotlight too.
True, and
He
he did deserve it, and it's going to be. I'm high on Quentin Ives though, and like I said, I mean EJ Barthel recruited him coming out of high school over the dude that over Shamar Brown. So I mean, there's a reason that Nebraska did that out of high school. EJ Barthel. I mean, his recruits haven't really had a chance to play yet because they've been, with the portal and with Emmett Johnson. So this will kind of be the year where we see if EJ Barthel's recruiting chops, kind of deliver some talent because his guys are going to have to step up this year in Ives and Nelson. And I feel pretty confident. When I played with Quentin Ives, as I've told Danny, I turned Quentin Ives into the college football running back of the year. I think it was like 2027, but the dude was a beast for me. So hopefully he will be a beast for Nebraska this season.
Time for EJ Barthel to earn that contract extension as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I think that's going to be something to watch. That's probably going to be a storyline going into fall camp is, Isaiah Mozee, where is he going to play, et cetera, et cetera. So another topic for discussion, I guess our last one. And then if people, just kind of want to keep things rolling, we can have a kind of an open discussion, but just, touching base on what's been happening with Nebraska on the recruiting trail over the past week, which there's been some ups and some downs. So looking ahead to today, we've got Calvin Thomas, who is going to be announcing his decision.
Yeah, I'm not sure what time, but
yeah, I'm not sure what time, and frankly, don't care because I don't think it's going to be in Nebraska. So, so I wouldn't mark your calendars. But it does appear he's going to be coming off the board today, Calvin Thomas, which does break my heart a little bit because man, when you really dive into the tape, he's a really good pass rusher. He's not just. I know it says linebacker, but I feel like he would have been a perfect jack for Nebraska. Oh well, that's probably why Bill Belichick got him. Like I said, is probably thrown on the highlight tapes of Lawrence Taylor and Mike Vrabel and Roosevelt Colvin and all the great pass rushers he had over the years. Plus I'm sure they got an NIL deal. There's been rumors of NIL money with this one, so it might be a situation where Nebraska just doesn't see the same value as North Carolina. I think you're going to see that with different recruitments moving forward.
Well, I think they're comfortable with their running back room too. Their linebacker room, excuse me. I think they're comfortable with who they have at linebacker. And, when you look at this roster, there's a lot of opportunity for young talent to step up. So maybe they didn't prioritize the linebacker Thomas as much as Bill Belichick did. And aside from just prioritizing and money and that, and I said this on our show the other day, it's hard to say no to Bill Belichick.
Well, especially for a defensive player, that's kind of his. When you said
and Steve Belichick too,
you got Steve Belichick, and you talk about just guy. I mean, they just are going to be able to give you a pretty strong recruiting pitch. So I understand why those guys did what they did, I guess. So let's see. Then Valdin Sone, of course, is the other kind of big name out there. It feels like he's been trending more to Georgia over the past week or so. I don't know. I feel it's kind of interesting that even though this has been kind of ongoing, this recruitment, we still don't have, any crystal balls. I mean, it was last weekend it's been over a week ago that, insiders started saying that like defensive Sone, or excuse me, Valdin Sone is going to, be committing. It's going to be committing soon. Brandon Collier, his kind of close advisor, started, posting images of pictures of different teams last weekend. Still no crystal balls that I've seen. No commitment date yet. So what's your gauge on Valdin Sone in the recruitment right now?
I still think he's going to Georgia. I think we'll make a push, but I still think Georgia is a school to beat, even though they already have a lot of depth at the position.
I like Co here.
I agree, Co. I agree.
Sone is Gone, or however you want to. I agree, which is why I think Nebraska has shifted to the Alami Moala. Hopefully that is right or pronounced right. Mitch says, give Valdin $2 million if he wants it. I agree. He definitely is. I mean, 6'2", 320 pounds. And if you watch this guy move, I mean, he does not move like a 320 pounder. Like when you talk about God's gift to football, like that would be Valdin Sone. I mean, he's like a Greek god, and like he would be a gift from the football gods for the Nebraska football program. So I agree 100%. Mitch, if there's any, I would just empty out the coffers. I would say, here's the entire 2026 recruiting class leftover budget. You can have all of it. So that's where I'm at with Valdin Sone.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I wonder if they'll actually pony up the money, but give him whatever he wants.
Yeah, he already looks like a college junior. Yeah, I mean, I was like looking over some highlights of him, and just watching him going through, it was like one of a cone drill or like a bag drill. I think it was when he was at Ohio State. Just so smooth as an athlete. And then just he's a fierce player too, and aggressive. And Brandon Collier knows what he's doing. So I really like that. Even if they don't get him, I like that Nebraska has a relationship with Brandon Collier, because he'll funnel some good recruits through that PPI system.
Absolutely.
That they get a lot of those. They're freakish guys over there from England or Europe or wherever that have just been newly introduced to the game. So,
and honestly, the European pipeline is not necessarily explored a ton. I think it's getting more recognition, but if Nebraska can make some inroads there, that would be important.
Yeah, for sure. And if they miss on Valdin Sone, I think there's some guys there that George is also recruiting that they could try to make some headway with. But Moala, we mentioned him. We covered him earlier this week on the Husker Big Red YouTube channel, so check out that video if you want more in depth on him. But 6'4", 340-pound defensive tackle, just decommitted from Oregon, 452 nationally. A bunch of other schools, Miami, North Carolina, Florida, Cal, Utah, have all reached out. So yeah, he's another guy that I think would be worth pursuing if they don't get Valdin Sone. We need some of those 320 pounders, those big guys. And Mitch says, that being said, we have offered him the most money. We aren't being overbid. Okay, so you heard it from Mitch. Nebraska's got the biggest offer on the table for Valdin Sone. So I don't know. That's why, I mean, even though they keep saying he's training to Georgia, I don't know. I feel like there's recruits that Nebraska's not going to get like beat out on money wise, and maybe that's Valdin Sone. Money doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get him,
right?
But it gives you a better chance at least.
Yeah, for sure. And Nebraska, and we heard Tim Vergee's rivals talk about how Nebraska has more money than some SEC teams, and I think they showed it for Claude and Puma, and I'm wondering how much they've given Sone or offered Sone.
And then from Co, any word on why he decommitted from Oregon? I don't know exactly. I feel like Oregon added some more defensive linemen, and they're trending, or they're in the top 2 for another defensive tackle named Deuce Geralds, who's like 72nd overall. So I think it's just maybe a size class thing. That's all I can kind of speculate. What do you know anything, Danny?
Yeah, no, I know they've been very active on the defensive line in terms of recruiting, and so I think it might just be a case of him kind of being not in the picture at this time. But apparently Tony Tuioti is getting the job done in recruiting.
And Mitch, we need to send Wilson Dittman to close the deal.
We don't want to drive him away. We want somebody to close the deal. So
we want someone. Yeah, we want someone that actually wants to make Valdin come to Nebraska. Mitch, just kidding. So yeah, Moala I think is an interesting name to target. And of all those other teams, I think Nebraska's got a good chance. Like, especially that's one thing about the recruiting the way that it is now. It's like, okay, if Nebraska misses on Valdin Sone, like, yes, that will suck, but okay, if we've got $2 million on the table, that means that they now have $2 million in resources they can allocate somewhere else. And not that Moala is going to take $2 million, but you probably can take, say, hey, what are these other teams offering you, and make him the best offer, and boom, that recruitment's done. And then you can take some more of that money and say, hey, Kamron Wilson from Syracuse, we need an edge player. We want to flip, how much is that going to take? And Tedarius, so maybe you could take that $2 million in Valdin Sone and then distribute it to Moala and Kamron Wilson and Tedarius Hughes. And I don't think that that's honestly that crazy to think.
I don't think so either. And I would love every single one of those guys. And honestly, talk to me right before early signing day, and we'll see how this roster shapes out.
Yeah, because I do think I still think Nebraska's got a good chance to get Kamron Wilson, Tedarius Hughes. I mean, we'll see. Especially Syracuse going to have a better season this year. Is Nebraska going to have a better season this year? But I know Tedarius Hughes it was reported that he's been basically considering Colorado and Nebraska, and so it just really feels like that commitment is not going to stick. I barely even view him as a Florida State commitment anymore. You know what I mean? I just think that I think it's eventually going to work out that he's going to leave that class. And I mean, Colorado, they just don't recruit high school kids very much. So if it's a head-to-head battle between Nebraska and Colorado, I'd take Nebraska 9 times out of 10, because that's just Colorado's got like 4 commits in their class. Like I don't know. Deion just doesn't want a high school recruit, I guess.
Yeah, that and the fact that Deion's also had a health issue, which has prevented him from getting on campus. And so, while that is unfortunate, that could greatly affect recruiting. And especially when you look at the Florida State side of things, you're looking at a coaching staff that may not be here in 2026.
Yeah, it could be. It is a big year for Florida State. They got the old Boston College quarterback, or at least he started the year. I know he didn't finish the year. Castellone. So that'll be interesting. I know he said some pretty interesting things about the Alabama game, so we'll get to that. Co has a question here. Any news on the wide receiver commit, Bonal Whitty, or whatever his name is? That is actually what his name is. And yeah, there hasn't been any news on him, but he didn't take an official visit, which I think is a pretty good sign that he's probably not going to be part of the class. I think he did take a visit in the spring, but yeah, I don't know. That recruitment's been pretty weird, and I'm just kind of operating under the assumption he's not going to be signing with the Huskers. So it's just kind of a matter of time before he announces a decommitment, in my opinion, but maybe not. I could be wrong.
Because he's a Garrett McGuire recruit, and he committed all the way back in October last year. So,
or it could be my other thought is that Nebraska's maybe still waiting for like a fall evaluation, another evaluation on him. I don't know. It is weird that there's zero news, but here's the thing: is so from a Nebraska perspective, they can't talk about recruits, right? So if Nebraska's already gone to him and been like, hey, like this is an committable offer, we don't want you to sign in this class, like it's pretty much on him to announce a decommitment. So, I mean, I'm guessing that maybe he just doesn't want to do that. He has had the injury too. So maybe there's part of Nebraska that's like, hey, let's evaluate you in this fall and see how things go, and then we can talk about it. I really don't know. That's just like my speculation on it. But if he does sort of get kicked from the class, I mean, that's kind of on him to, announce a decommitment, and maybe he's not like super quick to want to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure he's probably weighing his options as well.
So, but who knows? I mean, I do think whether it's him or some of these other targets, if they miss, I think there will be, maybe some more fall evaluations, some more offers that need to go out. I don't think Nebraska is going to sign an 11-man class, but we'll see. I could be wrong on that, but I think it'll get bigger than that.
Yeah, I do too, because I think, I think how we do this season is going to tell a lot. And, we've been able to close the deal when needed, closer to signing day. So we'll see. I think a lot of it is just waiting for this coming season.
Yeah, and I think with the way that Trey Taylor's coming along, and they got him in the class, Closer to 11 than 20. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that statement, Mitch. Closer to 11 than 20. Yeah, I would think. I don't see it getting over 15, but I think they'll add maybe 3 or 4 more. Any rumblings of anyone else transferring out? Not that I've seen. I know that we had Jaden Doss leave this week, and that made some people question it. But in order to leave on that team or to transfer out, you had to be, projected to essentially miss the cut on the roster. I'm not sure how they do that, but there's basically like a designated list, and the team puts you on it. So so players can't leave in this portal unless the team like designates them to be a player that wasn't going to make the roster. So, I mean, it sucks that Jaden Doss left, but I wish him the best of luck. And I just think it was a sign he wasn't going to contribute. So I wouldn't expect anybody else of significant nature. If they do leave, it's just because they were on the very low end of the depth chart.
Makes me wonder what Demetrius Bell is going to do this year.
Yeah, I am. I'm interested in Demetrius Bell too. Braden Peven, thanks for the question from Facebook. Who are the cornerbacks we are going after now that we need more than one for this class? Well, Tedarius Hughes is the guy that we were just kind of talking about, the Florida State commit. He's a cornerback / safety, so he's kind of the guy that's next up on the board right now. Since they missed on Darian Jones, so that's the guy that I would have kind of on my radar. Sean, thanks for the question. I've seen you in the comments quite a few times, so thanks for joining the chat. Just curious, where do you get your info that Sone is trending to Georgia? Everything I've been told indicates that Florida's the favorite. I mean, that's every insider that I've read, whether it's Sean Callahan, Tim Verges, Chad Simmons, Steve Wiltfong. The only indication I've seen that Florida's the leader is the On3 recruiting prediction machine, and that's not reliable for just because like Ohio State's leading for Deuce Gerald, who I was just talking about, and they aren't even like contending for his commitment. So just because the recruiting prediction machine says that Florida's the favorite doesn't mean that they are. Now they could still be in the mix. I think this recruitment is down to Georgia, Florida, and Nebraska. So I think he's going to go to one of those 3 places. But I think a lot of it is just assumption. I think there's so much uncertainty. I think a lot of these experts are just kind of assuming that Georgia's going to win out in this thing. I don't think there's a lot of intel. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree because I saw a report from Tim Verges earlier this week saying that Nebraska and Georgia were the top 2 for Sone. And so while I think Florida is a factor, I don't believe that they're the favorite.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I definitely think Nebraska is still in the mix here. So yeah, either of those SEC teams, I think is going to be a threat, but we'll see. And if they don't end up getting Sone, then there's some other guys on the board, but he definitely would be the crown jewel of the class right now as it stands. So hopefully they will be able to get that done. So as right now, we got to wrap up here, guys. So I know we have a few other questions here, but I think the old battery is going to die. So thanks for hopping in the chat, and you should come in and join us next week. So like I said, next Saturday and every Saturday going forward, we're going to have the coffee with Husker Big Red, and this will kind of be our tailgate show going forward throughout the season. So yeah, thanks for kicking off your Saturday with us. Same time next week, we'll break down more fall camp storylines, maybe look more ahead to the schedule and more. So make sure that if you guys haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.